Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me tonight, Night Pod, Alex Spears. Alex, what's up?
Good evening.
Good evening. Lots of NBA goings on today, Alex.
It's heating up.
It was just a normal Wednesday. I thought, we've got all the way till next week, the trade deadline, to really get anything going.
We've got an hour to talk about Moses Brown.
I seriously was like keying up way too much Moses Brown material in my head for today. Shouts to Moses. We will talk about it some, I guess, but really the main event is that trade season is in full swing. We already had one trade with the Thunder. Here's number 2. And it's with a player that never wore a Thunder uniform, but has been not really even a part of the team. His contract has been a part of the team since this past summer. Trevor Ariza was traded to the Miami Heat for Myers Leonard and a 2027 second round pick. Let me pull up the report because the Thunder were like outrageously fervent in making sure that people knew exactly what this deal was all about. So let me just read it just from the mouth of the Thunder PR. So the Oklahoma City Thunder have acquired a 2027 second round draft pick. It's funny, like that is usually not the first thing that's put into a report like this, like 2027 second round draft pick. Definitely not usually the first thing, but it shows you like where's the priority and like what's going on here. This is what they wanted, and forward center Myers Leonard, and they generated a trade exception from the Miami Heat in exchange for forward Trevor Ariza. Leonard will not be reporting to Oklahoma City and will not be an active member of the organization. I'm not sure I've ever heard a trade press release worded like that. And it's not like I'm out there like reading every single PR press release that's put out there. But it is very pointed in the way that they want people to know that we know about Myers Leonard. We're very well aware of him, and he will not be a part of this organization whatsoever.
Right. And that's why I think they deserve to get something extra, because even if you want to say it's just a contract, like Myers Leonard's never going to put on a Thunder uniform, he's not reporting, he's never going to be with the team. Mm-hmm. It isn't just a normal contract, because you don't have to do this with normal contracts. This contract was a ticking time bomb, because if they don't waive him by next Friday, all of a sudden they might have a PR fiasco on their hands. Yeah. And so it's a unique contract for that reason. And I thought that the favor that they did for Miami deserved something else. And like what else? And you know what they would probably argue? Well, we saved $3.5 million. Like that's what the something else was.
Sure.
So yeah, I guess you could say that, but I just felt like they let Miami off the hook basically too easy for this contract that, like, Miami, if they didn't trade him by next Thursday, they were going to have to do the same thing. They're going to have to waive him.
Yeah. I don't disagree that there could have been more value extracted, but it also, and I don't know what other deals are on the table. I know that it was reported that they had talked to other teams about getting a second rounder. I don't know if this was the only way to get a real one. You know what I mean? I don't know if like the other second rounders were like top 40 protected or anything like that. You know what I mean? So this may have been the only way to get an unprotected second rounder from anybody, because the truth is, like, Ariza hasn't played. Like, he didn't play in the bubble. He didn't play this entire season. We don't know what kind of shape he's in. And the Heat did a deal like this last year with Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala had like very tiny moments in the bubble, and then they ended up giving him a giant contract, which in retrospect doesn't make a ton of sense. And so this just feels like something that they just want more vets, like a wing, and maybe he's good, maybe he's not. to them. They're not giving up a lot, and they do get rid of a PR disaster for them. So it works out for them. But I just don't even know. Like, I don't know if Ariza even plays. I don't know if Ariza. I don't know if he impacts anything whatsoever. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like, I really don't.
I think they were trying to find a Jay Crowder replacement, and especially after we saw what PJ Tucker went for tonight, it's clear that like they weren't willing to actually make a huge deal to get someone of PJ Tucker's caliber or another player in that similar vein. And so for them, it's like, well, Trevor Ariza, like we literally are giving up nothing. Mm-hmm. We're actually like helping ourselves out a little bit because we can be done with this Myers-Leonard thing. Mm-hmm. And we just have to give up this second round pick in 6 years. I mean, who cares?
Yeah. I think that it's easy from both sides. Like it's an easy sell for both general managers. I think it's an easy sell for both. One, on Miami side, like you said, it's only a second rounder. If Ariza's good, cool. If he's not, who cares? And Myers is gone. For the Thunder, it's Ariza wasn't doing anything here anyways. Like we didn't even want him to come to the team. So we just swap his salary with Myers and we get a pick. I'm not convinced they would get like a real pick for Ariza from anybody else. And so I think it's an easy sell for both sides. And also this trade is like one of the most nothing trades of the trade deadline.
Sure. Oh, like, if this was a month ago, we would barely have anything to say about it. Like, honestly, the only thing interesting about this trade is everything that happened with Myers-Leonard in the interim that has made this like kind of a weird thing to talk about. But yeah, if this happened a month ago, it's like, yeah, who cares? Like, whatever.
And honestly, if it happens a month ago, I don't know that the Thunder do it because the Thunder don't have any interest in getting better right now. And like Myers-Leonard would make this Thunder team better.
Well, he's out for the season anyways. Because he injured his shoulder.
That's right. You're right.
So it really is like no matter like it's really a nothing trade. Like even
it is a nothing trade. I forgot about that. He was out. But if he was healthy, like he would definitely like he might be the starting center on the Thunder.
Well, I don't know. After what we saw from Moses, I don't know. We got a future Hassan Whiteside on our hands.
Gosh. We will talk Moses on this podcast, but. Yeah, it is the biggest nothing trade, and it's all it is Sam stockpiling more assets. Like that's what the goal was of this, and we're gonna see more of that. Like I'm fairly convinced that this is 2 of 4 or 2 of 5 of deals that will be made in the next week. And I got kind of excited about the deal that the Bucks made today for PJ Tucker just because of like George Hill. Like George Hill is, and I know he's been injured. That's like the only bad thing about him, but like he's been way better than PJ Tucker has this year and has contributed in so many positive ways. I mean, George Hill is still on the Thunder bench. If you guys haven't seen him on the broadcast, like he's still on the Thunder bench, like hyping guys up and being like a great teammate. And I think that they're going to be able to get a good pick for him.
Well, it's interesting that PJ Tucker trade was fascinating because I went from thinking, oh, they got a pick to, oh, they got 2 picks and then back to 1 pick. And then to feel like, oh, they actually just moved up about 10 spots in this year's draft. That's really what that trade was because
absolutely.
I mean, credit to them for pushing the first round pick back a year. They essentially swapped the 22 Milwaukee pick for the 23 Milwaukee pick. I feel like that's something that we're always talking about, wanting Presti to do in a future trade with some of these teams. But the other one, having the pick swap with a second round pick and Milwaukee's first rounder this year, which we'll see what happens tonight. They were down to the Sixers, but if they can get up to like the 3rd seed or something, and Houston continues being as bad as they were, I mean, this might be only like an 8-pick jump, basically. And that's the entire trade. So initially it was like, wow, they got a ton for BJ Tucker. But the more I looked at it, I was like, oh, I mean, I guess it's not a huge return. I still like it for Houston, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I think, even a 8-pick jump just gives you a better slot to choose who you like in the draft.
Like
we don't know. Acapulco. We don't know we don't really know what Rafael Stone is as a draft guy. At least I don't.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see.
It's okay. You don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. And I also like sneaky, like DJ Augustine will help the Houston Rockets like
Oh,
quite a bit.
Stop.
Who's playing point for them?
KPJ. He's their main assist guy now.
Dude, exactly. Like, how many times has DJ Augustine gone to like some crap team and looked awesome? I mean, he did it with Chicago. He did it in Orlando like forever, right? You could argue that they like miss him this year.
Oh, they definitely do. He was their assist leader that one season.
Yeah,
they tweeted about it.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, but I am fairly convinced that, and I don't want Houston to get better. I want Houston to lose as much as possible. And somebody asked like us to talk through this a little bit, and I can actually pull up Tankathon.
Oh, yeah, bring up the Tankathon thing because I was actually looking at that today, and it all clicked for me. Because obviously, I've been arguing same as you. Like, no, we want Houston to have the worst pick in the league because that would give us the best opportunity to get the 5th pick. But on Tankathon, you can go to the pick odds, and it really shows you exactly how good it is. Because first of all, there's only 5 spots that could get you the 5th pick. And obviously the 5th pick is the best pick because Houston's pick is top 4 protected. So the best pick we could get from that pick is the 5th pick. There's only 5 spots that can do it, which is the 1 through 5 spot. So we obviously want them in one of those spots.
Yep. The
spot that gets you the best opportunity to get the 5th pick is actually the number 1 pick.
It is.
It's because it cannot fall any further.
Exactly.
And when you start looking at those odds, so if they're the worst team, we have a 47.9% chance at the 5th pick. You drop down to this. What if they're Detroit in the 2nd spot? Now it's only 27.8. Then it drops down to 14.8, 17 or 7.2, and then 2.2. And I actually added that up, and I don't know if it's a mathematical error, but like for Detroit, 27.8% for the 5th pick, 20% for the 6th pick. Andrew, that adds up to 47.8%. Does that mean that there's actually a 0.1% better chance if they get the number 1 pick?
I think the 0.1 is just lost. It's just gone.
Man.
According to this chart, it just vanishes.
But yeah, I was looking at this and I was like, when you see the odds laid out like this, it makes so much more sense why you want Houston to be the worst team in the league, which honestly, I don't think they will be. Christian Wood coming back tonight, as you mentioned, borderline all-star point guard DJ Augustine. So I think
hopefully they beat the Thunder. I mean, hopefully they beat the Thunder coming up.
That's going to be a tank battle for the ages.
It honestly will be. They
should win. If Christian Wood is back, Oladipo scored over 30 points in his last game.
Yeah.
KPJ was looking good. I do think they're going to rebound. I do not think they're going to end up in the worst spot, but these odds do help kind of clarify the situation a little bit.
Yeah. Make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. And obviously you can go to tankathon.com and check it out for yourself. But if you want to hear our discussion with this chart, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go watch it if you're just listening to the pod, because it does make a ton of sense. Because if they're the worst team, it's only going to fall. If they get bumped out, they're going to 5.
And I should say the other aspect of this is it's not like your chances of getting the pick dramatically increase when you go to the 2nd spot or the 3rd spot. It's a coin flip every single time. Yes. So if it's going to be a coin flip regardless, you want the coin flip that gives you the best chance at the best pick, and that's only the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These other ones spread it out across like picks 5 and 6, or picks 5, 6, and 7, or 5 to 8.
That's what's horrifying about it for Houston, is that it is even at the 3rd spot, which they are now, it is more likely that it ends up at 6 than it ends up at 3 or 2 or 1 or 4. It's more likely that it's at 5 or 6, which, I mean, that's a very scary proposition if I'm the Houston Rockets. And if you're the Thunder and you're excited about the top 5 guys and you're not excited about guy at 6 or guy at 7, then we root for Houston to lose. This is how it works.
And looking at this, I truly believe that Christian Wood is good enough and better than Justin Patton that they will leapfrog Orlando and Cleveland for sure.
Yeah.
And then you get into a question of, what's going to happen with Sacramento? Is there going to be a huge sell-off there? Like, Are the
Right.
Wizards ever going to bounce back from their Wheel of Fandom week?
Oh boy, that was quite a week for them.
It was the
Sacramento
highlight of the
Sacramento
season.
is beating the Wizards currently, and I hate doing podcasts like this where everybody obviously knows the results later on. But it looks like Sacramento is going to beat the Wizards, so that's at least something. And Sacramento's got a roster where they should be a lot better than they are. So who knows? Maybe they put something together, but they probably don't. Because they're the Kings, and that's what the Kings do. One more thing that happened today in the Thunder world is that the Thunder guaranteed the final 2 years of Lou Dort's contract. So for the 2021-22 and the 2022-23 seasons, he will have his contract guaranteed. Kind of a no-brainer deal. We don't really know what the Thunder will look like in the 22-23 season. And so it only behooves them to have a very cheap, good player on their roster.
Agree.
So like the only rebuttal to this is that they could send him to restricted free agency earlier.
No. Well, maybe actually. So isn't that what happened with Jokic? They decided not to send him to restricted free agency just so they could because they knew they were going to give him a massive deal and didn't want to get some like poison pill contract offer.
Yeah, and I mean, Jokic is definitely a different scenario, at least as of today, because Jokic was like, he very much is like a max level player. We can't mess around with this. And Lou is going to be one of those mid-tier guys. And I don't know. I can't pretend to know all of the motives behind any of this.
So does this mean that when his contract does expire, he will be an unrestricted free agent?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's scary. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's scary, but if I don't know, I think Lou will give the Thunder, a first crack at it. He'll still be extremely young. Still, a lot of those guys that are young still feel like they owe something to the organization that helped them. And Lou in particular, I mean, Lou was devastated on draft night not being chosen, and very much wanted to be picked, especially in the first round of the draft. And then the Thunder bringing him up through the G League, and then giving him a chance to start, which I don't know how many teams he does that. I don't know. I don't know how many teams that happens with. So I think, there's a story behind that, but we got a lot of time. Don't worry about that.
Sounds like we got to win in the next 3 seasons.
Hey, and that's why like this, the second half of the season is so important, to lose as many games as possible and to have a crack at getting 2 top 5 guys. It's why it's just so incredibly important, is to at least give yourself a chance to. And if they could somehow at least just get 1 in the top 5, and if something crazy happens and they get 2 in the top 5, then it's not insane to think about them being a really good team that season, in the 2022-2023 season.
Well, also, and the Ariza deal kind of brings this up again. Like, I think it's now 16 second-round picks in the next 7 drafts.
Mm-hmm.
We're over 35 total picks in the next 7 drafts. Like,
yeah,
obviously, there have to be consolidation trades at some point.
Definitely.
And I would have to anticipate that would be happening as soon as the summer. Well, it happened last summer to get Poku.
Exactly.
There's going to be more and more of those deals, and it might not be a deal to get up into the top 5, because that's really hard to do, especially in a good draft. But if it's a deal to move up a few spots to get a guy that they're targeting, I have to imagine that has to happen almost, because they're going to run into an issue where there's just too many picks. You can't draft all these guys and put them anywhere. Like, where are you going to put all these guys?
Yeah, you're right. I think,
we don't have enough room.
I think the Poku deal is a really good example of the kind of draft capital that they have, where you can do something like that and it does like nothing to what you've done, like to stockpile picks. Like, it doesn't even make a dent in it, because most teams can't make that deal to trade up to get Poku and use those multiple picks to get there and still have like the Maladon pick in the back.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. It's going to be, I mean, the Thunder are going to be the most interesting like off season, and especially interesting team at the draft, just because they're going to have a lot of options at their disposal, no matter where they end up with picks. So,
do you know much about their scouting department? Like how many people are in it, or anything like that, or
I don't
any
know.
of the
Not
any of the
really.
characters there?
I mean, I don't really. But that's a good question. That's a good question to
We
ask.
we should get them on the pod and have them reveal their big board.
Sure. I mean, I know Sam Presti does a lot of in-person scouting himself and has done that for years. I think that's I mean, that's not a secret. So, I mean, and not every executive does that. I mean, Sam will travel the world to go see guys. And there aren't a ton of there's probably more today than there were 10 years ago that'll do that, but he's definitely one of them. And he takes a lot of pride in that, which I think is great. I mean, it shows like the intentionality behind it. Speaking of intentionality, there's a lot of intentionality in the rotations lately with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the other night they beat who was it that they beat that I felt encouraged by? I was like, okay, that was not bad. Was it Dallas that they beat?
Oh, they beat Memphis and then they lost to Chicago.
Yeah, but the Dallas game they won, and I walked away from that game.
Oh yeah,
I walked away from that game thinking, okay, like that was the game that Luka and Porzingis sat.
Right.
But that's the night that everything changed. I thought, okay, there's a chance that they're really going to do this in the second half of the season. Like they're really going to go for it. And we've seen that. We've seen that quite a bit with them. And that, like, you look at the starting lineup against Chicago and they had a chance to, like, you could start Kenrich Williams. You know, you can have a better starting lineup than what they have, but it was Shea, Maladon, Moses Brown, Isaiah Roby, and Pokuševski. It's like
really crazy lineup.
Really crazy, like really crazy. And Roby's not a rookie, but it's basically just Shea and like rookies and G League guys. Like that's what they did. And a credit to Moses Brown for like he was incredibly productive in that game, and that counts for something. I know that we have spent so much time arguing for a guy in Steven Adams he's not necessarily the most productive player, but he is an extremely helpful player because he does all the things that don't show up on the stat sheet. And Moses Brown is like almost the exact opposite of that, in that like almost everything he does shows up in the stat sheet.
Right. Well, that's why I made the reference to Hassan Whiteside, because that's kind of like Whiteside's thing. Like, definitely. Amazing fantasy player. Now, we're actually going to get to see a lot of Moses Brown over these next few months.
Definitely.
And yeah, I mean, he's like every other player on this roster. He's already better than I thought he was at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no idea what to expect from any of these guys going forward. But yeah, that was super impressive. Anytime you get 20, 16, and 5 against an NBA team, that's impressive.
Yeah, like nobody does 20, 16, and 5. And I hate that he fouled out, because I think they would have probably played him 35 minutes and he probably
I could have gotten the 2020
with 6 blocks or something. Like that would have been great. That would have been really fun. It wouldn't have mattered because they lost by 21 points to the Bulls. And a Bulls team they're fine. Like this not like they're 2 games under 500. This isn't like some great team. Zach LaVine is super good, man. He was awesome. He was so much fun in that game. He had 40 points on 20 shots. He was spectacular.
They seem like a team that could use a trade, because like Wendell Carter Jr. isn't starting at this point.
Right.
It seems like they like Patrick Williams, which is great. They're still starting Thad Young. It seems like they like Lowry more than Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell Carter Jr. seems like the forgotten man here.
Yeah, he does.
And if they could, if another team was interested in Wendell Carter and could flip him for just something better, because you look at all of their guys, and I just still am not excited about many of them, including Kobe White, who had that great run at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And this season it certainly hasn't been that player. And it's becoming more and more clear that, this guy is probably just like a microwave scorer off the bench.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah, he's still super young, but yeah, he's he's going to put up points. Like he will do that. I think he'll have a good career, but yeah, as far as like being a starter or something like that, it's a tough one. I think Al Horford makes a ton of sense for them. I think if you're looking at Al Horford destinations, if there's going to be an in-season Al Horford trade, I think that they've always made sense. And it's like the Otto Porter deal. Like Otto Porter didn't play a whole lot. He makes $28 million. Like you do a swap, and I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would do this straight up because Otto Porter is expiring.
Yeah.
And you let them have Al Horford would be super helpful to that team. Like Thad Young is kind of doing the stuff that Al Horford would be doing for them. And Horford will probably be better at it because he's a lot bigger. And I think it's helpful for them to be a little bit more versatile, but like do that. I don't know. Like, is there any of these? I'm not interested in any of these. Like Devon Dotson, like trade us your two-way guy. That's fine.
The crazy thing is, if you traded for Otto Porter, so their committed deals, because I was looking at Hoops Hype today, their committed deals for next year is already only at around like 56 million or something.
Yeah.
So if you traded for Otto Porter, you would be maybe the cheapest team of all time.
That'd be like kind of a cool thing.
relative to the salary cap. Like they would have zero chance of getting to the floor because they'd be bringing in rookies. It doesn't matter because it actually would be amazing for any player who was drafted by the Thunder if they really did end up like 60 million below the salary floor, because that would get split up among those guys.
No doubt. It would be
so like
cool.
Double and triple some of their salaries.
It really would. That'd be amazing. But it would also allow them this summer that if there's a team that's wanting to clear space, the Thunder just raises their hand and teams can they could dump a $20 million contract on the Thunder and the Thunder don't blink.
Yeah.
And say, give us a first rounder. Or they could even do it at the draft. Like, hey, whoever it is, you want some space this summer? Give us the 17th pick or whatever it is, and you can have that space. And that would actually be like amazing for OKC.
And they're going to have that. They're going to have it regardless whether they trade Horford now or not. Like that space is going to be there, so they can still do one of those deals. But yeah, if they traded for someone like Otto Porter, there'd be articles written about the Thunder and the salary floor because it would be so drastic. I mean, the process Sixers got close, but I'm pretty sure both of the years where they had a chance to drop below the floor, they made deals to get back to the floor. Yeah. The Thunder could be in a position where there's not even a deal to make.
It'd be impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because after this season, there's not going to be a ton of bloated deals in the league like that anymore. Right. I mean, maybe you just call Houston and say, you could just throw John Wall onto our cap sheet, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you could do that. Let's go to the stream real quick. This is going to be a shorter pod tonight, but I just want to make sure that everybody gets recognized. Zach Prince says, what's up? We have Radinan Gonzalo from Argentina. Thanks for joining. Kevin says, night pod. We have Wild Hunt from London. We have Simon in New Zealand. We have Jay checking in from Trade City. Let's see. John Woodson from Boston. Joseph from West Palm Beach. Oh, Thales from Brazil. John Cox from Coweta, Oklahoma. Thanks for joining. Miroslav from Germany, as always. Let's see. Tyler in Dallas. We have Brody Berman from Pokuville. Thanks for joining from Pokuville.
Wow.
Daniel Cohen from Mexico City. Aaron in Wellington, New Zealand. Brandon Land says, boo, Oscar Myers Wiener. I don't know why he said that. Oh, Myers Leonard. Duh. Yeah. I'm glad he's never joining the Thunder. I'm glad, it's just funny. Like, the first information that I wanted to get after that trade was like, not even like the pick protections or anything. It was like, he's not going to play. Is he? Like, there's just no way. Tyler Field in Edmond. Penny says, what's up? She's in Tulsa. Let's see. Anybody else? What's up, Tulsa? Jumping Bear from China. Trent from Hermosa. Michael in
So dope.
Springfield. So dope.
So
Brandon Land is in Oakland. Hudson in Norman. Holy moly. Jay Smith on the pod.
Kevin Chen asked a good question, which is, do you think Sam will do anything with his trade exceptions? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the deal today, he actually used the Gallinari trade exception.
He did.
And then generated a new Ariza trade exception.
He did. So basically, because the Gallinari one would have expired relatively soon, and so he just made a $12 million one that will last longer.
Yeah. Which, again, those are the type of things we were talking about taking on a big contract this summer. Those are the type of things where you can take on the big contract and not really have to send anything back if you don't want to.
Yeah, they still have the Steven Adams trade exception.
Which that one's a big one.
I think it's $28 million.
Better than Boston's.
It's a lot.
Danny Ainge wishes he could have, because in fact, Andrew, because I know the thing with the Boston one is that it's like a little bit under Bradley Beal's contract. Not that they're going to get him, but so that means the Steven Adams one is enough for Bradley Beal.
Actually, the Steven Adams one is less. Sorry.
All right. Well, never mind.
27.5. So not enough for Bradley Beal. Oh man. But yeah, so we're going to have, I feel like this is going to be similar where we're going to have lots of pods, and this today just so happened that we weren't able to do a pod this morning. So it just worked out that we had lots of stuff going on today. So
who's next, Andrew? Who's next? I can't believe none of us guessed Ariza when we did our first pod. That was so obvious.
Yeah, we all lost that trade. I think Mike Muscala could definitely be next.
Yeah, he has not been playing.
He didn't play, man. He didn't play in the Chicago game. He's a DMP coach's decision. If you don't think that he's better than Darius Miller, Justin Jackson, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with you. This is the plan. This is the executed plan.
Did you see the official reason for Dort being out was left great toe hyperextension?
Left great toe?
Yeah, left great toe, it says here. I always thought big toe.
I think it is big toe. I think
maybe his is better.
Well, that's a great toe.
He's got a great toe.
Yeah, and it's likely one of those things where if it were a playoff game or a game that really mattered, probably just tape it up and he'd be playing, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we are probably going to get to see Svi, right? Svi's time is coming.
Svi will play. Yeah, he's with them, and
maybe in their next game.
Yeah, he could play.
Which is OKC, Atlanta Hawks, the surging Atlanta Hawks. I think they've won 6 in a row.
They have. That's great. And then they do have the Houston, Minnesota back-to-back, which I don't know if they're going to start sitting Al Horford just forever now. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. Just kind of funny to me. It's like, well, the research that we've done really shows that we rest him more. It's better for him. And it's like, I think it's just better for your plan. Like, I think it's just better for like what the team wants to do overall. I think play Moses Brown.
Yeah, because it wasn't back-to-backs.
It's helpful. No, it's not. But he won't play on one of those nights, likely the one in Minnesota, which might matter more.
Well, these are true tank tests coming up this weekend.
Yes.
I mean, they might do the Vivek Ranadive 4-on-5, except it's not because someone's back on offense. It's because there's only 4 players on the court. They might try that out as a new strategy.
It's going to be extremely interesting to see how this plays out, because already, I mean, they're showing their hand when they play the Moses Brown, Roby, Pokuševski guys 30 plus minutes in a game. I mean, it's just like, okay, when you have guys that are better, like Kenrich Williams played 24 minutes. He was the second best player on that team, and it's not even really close. And they said, 24 is enough for you, Kenrich. That's enough. Sit down, sir, please. And Shea even only played 28 minutes. And I know it's because it wasn't a close game at the end, but still, I mean, they are trying, and it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to get a better pick in this draft. So I'm really glad to see it. I'm so glad to see it.
I got all excited about Christian Wood coming back. They're currently down 21 to the Golden State Warriors in the third.
Yikes.
They made the Wikipedia list. We need to start thinking about how many games they could lose at this point, because they're at 17, and the record of all time is 28, which was set by, I believe, the Process Sixers actually 2 years in a row. they lost 28 games 2 years in a row.
Wow.
That's really impressive.
That is
But
so impressive.
To really get into the upper tier, they need to get to about 20, because that gets you into the top 10 of all time. So they're at 17. It looks like they're going to be at 18 tonight. So that game against the Thunder, history.
They're about to get the DJ Augustine bump. I hate to break it to Houston fans, but they're about to get that DJ Augustine bump.
You're the only one who believes in that. You're the only one who's ever said those words in combination.
I believe thoroughly. Thanks for listening to our podcast. You can follow Alex on Twitter at AlBabyCakes. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew K. Schlecht. If you like this combination of podcasters, you can listen to our new show that we have on the Athletic NBA Show channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. It's called Saturday Slam and Jam. It will be released first thing in the morning on Saturday. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday night, Thursday morning, whenever you listen to this, and we'll talk to you guys again on Friday.